The Pod Barber. Coming up on today's show.
I can remember it, obviously, you're lying in hospital. We've all lied in bed before. We lie there every night. You wake up in the morning and you've got the silhouette of your bed sheets. There's no feet at the end of there. When you come around from that coma and there's only half a bed sheet, something's wrong. That was a big moment for me. I didn't want to take the bed sheets off. I didn't want to look down there, but I didn't really have time to think about it. It all happened very quick. I noticed it, I saw it, and then that was it. It was a case of, what can I do? How can I get out of here?
You're listening to The Pod Barber. I'm championing the chat, proving conversation is the cure to better mental health and well-being. Meet my guests from all walks of life, showing vulnerability and sharing wisdom. Sit in on my chats and be part of reality entertainment. Join the Pod Barber tribe. Subscribe, share and like people. Feel the sonic positivity we're pumping right at you. You, my friends, are not alone. Who's next, please? Well, I'll tell you who. We welcome Shaun Whiter to the pod today. Shaun's story serves as a timely reminder of the dangers of drink driving, the impact of careless behaviour behind the wheel and the devastation that's left in the wake of serious RTAs. There are around 2,000 fatalities and 25,000 serious injuries each year, numbers which need reducing. Conversations with victims, real-life stories, raise awareness and action from road users. We hope we can propagate better driving habits that equals less death and serious injury on UK roads. 5 years ago, Shaun was a victim of a horrific hit-and-run accident resulting in losing both of his legs. We welcome Shaun to the Pod Barber today.
Thank you for having me.
I have teased you with the fact that I write poems, so here's yours, mate. Trauma's round the corner in a blink of an eye. Dangerous, reckless driver callously decided to drive. Crashed his car straight into you and your poor old mate. Hit and run victims left fighting, mangled in a life-threatening state. 1 minute you're walking, the next you're not. Double amputation above the knee is what you got. Massive trauma, you got to dig deep and find how resilient you are. Total determination, relentless efforts in rehabilitation. Yeah, you're a star. Now focused on fatherhood and family life. Working hard to adapt to learn from all of that strife. You emit the strengths of stoicism, promote positive attitude and traits. You're inspiring so many people, not least your family, your mates. Shaun Whiter, it wasn't your choice, you've had to sacrifice. Hear these words, if you're driving under the influence, think twice.
Powerful. Thank you for that. Yeah, I think that one hit me a little bit, really, because I don't think I've really had time. I know it's been 5 years, but when you think back of all the stuff that's gone on, that very much sums it up.
That's a pretty heavy incident, wasn't it?
It was. Yeah, obviously it's life-changing.
Yeah, man.
I'm lucky to still be alive, obviously. Losing 5 pints of blood, and I believe you've only got 8 in your body. So, yeah, I've done well there, I think.
You've done ever so well, mate.
It's a true story. We see these films and we see the news and obviously what you're doing here today with the podcast and taking it down the modern day way. It's what it needs. I can't change the event. I can only go forward with what's happened now and try and take the positives from it.
How you doing right now, buddy?
Very good. In a good place, as you mentioned, fatherhood. So a lot of distractions with the little one. He was 1 last week, so absolutely amazing. And just watching him learn to grow and watching him deal with his life and changing all the time. And I suppose with this lockdown, I know it's been terrible for a hell of a lot of people, but for myself, dealing with obviously trying to help him grow and become a father in a year, it's been amazing having that time at home to be able to spend with him, watching him change every day, watching the facial expressions change. And he's taking his first steps and learning to walk, and it sort of brings flashbacks back to my first steps again, relearning to walk, and the tantrums, the cries, the joy when he stands up and he gives you a little wave. It's absolutely fantastic.
I hadn't really thought about that. You're watching his first steps and, not many of us can relate our first steps, but, you literally woke up one day and at some point you had to make them yourself. It was about a year after, wasn't it?
Yeah, so my accident happened in the 1st of July and I was back in rehab walking end of October. of that year. So it was pretty quick with regards to the healing process of the body, obviously going through the trauma and obviously the amount of operations I had to go through at that point. I think it was 4 operations within 2 weeks. But as we were mentioning, learning to walk again within the rehab clinic, a lot of help from a lady called Kat Sizer, who's at Pace, and that's my rehab clinic itself. Yeah, as I mentioned, a lot of tears, a lot of stressful times, a lot of points of learning to where you're placing your body, learning to use other parts of your body to manipulate my new legs, let's say, working on core stability, falling over a lot. But we're here today and we're up walking. So
baby steps.
Exactly that.
Because you've been isolated in the pregnancy.
Yes.
How did that work with getting into hospital and with the birth and everything?
Yeah, again, I've had a fantastic experience, obviously, from my accident with Adam Brooks. They looked after Holly. And with regards to pregnancy itself, once the delivery had happened, I was allowed in there for a further 6 to 8 hours, I believe. So you're allowed to just make sure that everybody's comfortable and make sure it was all okay, that she's been looked after as well as the baby. So that was, again, I can't thank them enough for that side. Sadly, he contracted sepsis at the beginning.
Oh man!
So, but they kept an eye on it. He was in hospital for a further 10 days. But the hardship of it was that Holly was obviously in there for 10 days as well. So she was dealing with it. But again, communication skills between the doctors, and it sort of gets to that point of a Friday at 5 o'clock, and you're thinking, am I going home? Am I not going home? And then the doctor's gone home already, so now you're in over the weekend, so nothing's going to happen over the weekend. But it's part of the journey. And there, after 10 days, he was back home. And again, I think it was yesterday, last year, that got the old Instagram father photo of carrying the baby seat out of the hospital, which everybody does.
Repost.
But it was a fantastic time for me. And again, in the circumstances with what the NHS have been put under, they were fantastic. The midwives there.
Naturally, you've started fatherhood with 2 missing limbs, but you've obviously got adapted legs and what have you. What's the little bits that you perhaps wouldn't have thought about, which are so tricky for you? Because I found it all fairly tricky.
Well, at the moment, I'm a walking, talking Swiss Army knife, as you've seen, with my legs. I've got big legs, tall legs, swimming legs, running legs. It's all about timing and preparation and making sure that you're able to, obviously, to do what you can do in the best ability. So one, obviously, being fit has helped me massively. But the hardships for me, obviously, is mentally, probably more than anything, being like, can I do that? Probably the biggest thing is fear. Mm-hmm. Can I do that? Am I able to do that? How do I do that? And so a bit of planning has to go into everything, but also having an amazing partner who's there like, Shaun, you can do that. Come on, don't keep asking for help. You can do that in whichever way. We're getting to that exciting time, as we mentioned. He's getting up and he's learning to walk. So I'm like, oh God, quick, got to put the legs back on. And so like any sort of relaxation stage, and he turns around, he crawls off, and you got to go after him. But at the beginning time, obviously, fear of how can I do it, and am I able to do it? We're just enrolling him into some swimming lessons. And again, you think, actually, from a personal side, how am I going to get to the swimming pool? How am I going to be in the swimming pool? Am I going to be in the water with him? Are they going to allow me in the water with him? Am I going to be safe enough to be handling him in that side? So, obviously, a bit of that, but communication with the people that you're with are able to make anything possible. Yeah.
Conversation secure, man.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. So, like, obviously, as at a stage, I could be with, as I'm in today, you know, it's obviously on a podcast, but I'm in a set of stubbies, which are, I'm now standing at 4 foot tall. When I'm on big legs, then I'm around 6 foot tall. Or I could be in a wheelchair, being that the legs are tired, or just giving my legs a bit of a rest, so I'm in a wheelchair. But at times, the joys of what I've seen so far is that with Kian, I can stick him in between my legs on the wheelchair, and we could just go for a ride. And he loves it, the smile on his face, and we've been riding around on the things. But it keeps him entertained for that 5-10 minutes. So you're with him, and it's another story to have, and see him smiling. So you should be very proud, and every parent should be very proud of what they're doing and how they're taking it on. And again, it's not a competition. You're on your own journey with your own family, so enjoy it. If you like doing certain things with your child, then carry on doing it. Don't change because there's a stigma of you should be doing this, you should do that. You should be happy and how you are, as long as you're fit and healthy.
The actual first time I met you was at the Mr. Barber's Awards Bash.
Yes.
How soon after your accident was that?
That was 6 months.
Wow.
Yeah. Like I say, I think my accident happened in July. Then obviously up in some form of state of walking in October. And then I believe it was awards for around the Christmas time.
Yeah.
So then it would have been in the December time, or in that time frame.
That's crazy.
It is. But again, as I mentioned, the help of, one, the surgeons, two, the prosthetic clinic, and obviously the family members and friends that were able to keep me positive, keep me focused in that side, in that goal to achieve that I wanted to walk again. I needed to walk again, and that's how I was really. But again, it was a credit to Carl and Sam inviting me there. It gave me a focus. It gave me something to look forward to. Very grateful for that.
How did you feel being put into those situations where all eyes are on you and you're like getting used to how you are?
Tough, very, very tough. As I mentioned, I was very lucky to be alive, so I always had to relate back to that, to be, okay, I'm here. The staring, the looking, it's not the norm. So you have to just sort of get rid of that side of it. But when people are coming up to you and talking to you and saying, God, I don't know whether I could have done that. I don't know if I could get up. You sort of then get that good feeling. You're like, yeah, no, I have done it. I've cried. I've been through the struggles. Still go through the struggles. But the fantastic support that I had at the time, and I still do, that's what got me going. That was the positivity of the local public that were just trying to drive you forward, looking out for you as well. Again, it's a great story. It's a happy story because I've got to where I have, but there have been a lot of tears along the way and a lot of hardships, really. And as you mentioned, the mental side of dealing with it, there's no fear. I can remember it. Obviously, you're lying in hospital, you wake up in the morning, and you've got the silhouette of your bed sheets. There's no feet at the end of there. When you come around from that coma and there's only half a bed sheet, something's wrong. That was a big moment for me. Having that time and just to stare, obviously I couldn't for that period or for a little period of time. I didn't want to take the bed sheets off. I didn't want to look down there. I didn't want to think, but I didn't really have time to think about it. And then that was it. It was a case of, okay, what can I do? How can I get out of here? But seeing 2 feet not there at the end of the bed was, as we know, life-changing. You're trying to get through that stage. Obviously, I was in there for 31 days, so I was in there for a month. There was a nervous stage, I think about 2 weeks in, being that I caught an infection, and it happened again on a Friday. Doctors go home on a Friday, had to wait till Monday, might need revised surgery again. But luckily through the Saturday and the Sunday, I was looked after by another nurse, and they really invested their time and their knowledge on me and were able to look after the infection. They calmed it down. The main doctor turned up on the Monday and went, "We're looking good. It's all okay. Your temperature's coming down. This is it. You're okay."
So that sepsis is the biggest killer, actually, isn't it? In the UK, I don't know how many people know that, but it's becoming better knowledge, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
You said that you woke up at that point and there's no silhouette. Before you came to, did you have any idea of what had really happened?
Yes and no. Obviously, on that night, I was there. I was helping a friend. He'd had a flat tyre, and so me and Joey were changing the tyre. I went round to the back of my car to go and get something to help him out, but we'd already got high-vis jackets on. We've got torches on. We got
so you've done the whole
done
thing,
everything right,
much more than what you see most people doing.
No, exactly. Yeah, and obviously, when I see people on the side of the road at the moment, it still gives me a shiver.
Yeah, you want to stop and tell them.
Yeah, like please hurry up, just go to the side or just get somebody else. Or now, because obviously now I know what can happen. From behind was smashed by a car. I remember, obviously, for me, I thought there was 2 people that were in the car, and there was a voice that shouted, "We've hit somebody." So I'm obviously lying on the floor. They've reversed off, driven off at that point. I've turned to my friend at the time and shouted, "I'm really hurt," obviously, and he went, "No, I'm hurt as well." It turned out that he broke his knee, and he was able to get to me and comfort me at that stage. randomly, I remember lying on the floor, grabbing a piece of grass and just kept squeezing it, just saying, look, just you're all right, you're okay. And then I remember it was probably about 15 minutes later and the ambulance eventually turned up. But previously to that, there was cars coming past and you never really want to lie on the floor and you want to see somebody come past, put their window down and go, that's not good. And have a second car come past. Oh, that's not good. So I'm like, well, obviously it's not great. And eventually, the ambulance turned up. The air ambulance then flew in. I could hear this helicopter coming in. They've landed. They were fantastic. They brought the team from the medical team from Adam Brooks. They were able to treat me on the side of the road. And from that, then I remember they chopped all my clothes off and I'm lying, lifted onto the ambulance. But at that point, I only found out that I went in the ambulance after the event, being like I always thought that I went into the air ambulance and flew around because the ketamine that they put into me, I was all over the place by that point. But I had a little look and glimpse at my legs and thought trainers were gone, legs were gone, really. But
bodies don't hold up against metal.
No. And in the craziest circumstances, I think it was a Ford Focus. And I always now look at cars and just think, obviously, with the bonnet of a Ford Focus, it's low. Quite low. So hence why, obviously, I took the impact at the lower level of that. I did fall forward. I did hit my head and then fell back. But very lucky it wasn't a truck. Definitely
would have been drinking.
Yeah. I can't change what he's done and his actions there of that, but I wish he hadn't have done it, and I wish he hadn't got behind the wheel of drink driving. And from what I know from the police report, he drank himself into oblivion whenever they caught him. He tried to escape out of the window of where they arrested him. He fell into a toilet. They got him, but it took 2.5 days to take his statement from where he drunk himself. But he's hit 2 cars and 2 people, and the damage that you can cause with a car, it can be fatal. And as we've said, I'm very lucky to be here today. Obviously, there was a major appeal when he went on the run. Where is this car?
Community behind it.
Yeah, without a doubt. And it actually turned out, I think it was a guy on holiday who had seen the big Facebook appeal and from there, and he's actually got a camera out the front of his house, and he was just checking his driveway, but got told that it was a red Ford Focus, and he was on was able to log into his phone, check his camera, and he could zoom in, and he zoomed in, could see the bonnet had folded in from the neighbour across the road, and was able to make a call to the police, and the police were able to get round there and do their job. But also previously to that, from the forensics of the paintwork that was actually in my leg, as gruesome as it is, I don't know where that was and where that was stored, but they were able to they were identified from the paint colour, the model of the car, the year of the car, and what it was. The police actually did have a list of, I think, 200 red Ford Focuses in the
they were honing in on the geezer.
Yeah, so they were able to. It was just waiting for the time. Absolutely credit to the police officer, PC Ash at the time, Ash Bennett. I think he was an hour away from finishing his shift. And I don't know whether many people know, but as soon as you get called out on that side of it, if you're involved in that arrest or involved in that case, you stay on your shift.
Yeah, you're on the OT.
So he did not finish, I think, for another 48 hours or something silly like that. And he worked, and he was like, look, come to visit me in the hospital. Look, I'm on it. I'm going to find him. And credit to him, he did his job. And I can't thank him enough. PC Ash Bennett won't know this, but he inspired my cousin to train and retrain as a police officer from his actions and what he was able to do to help me. So she's now a police officer in the Essex Police.
That's so cool.
And he's now changed her life, and she's gone on to go and meet her partner through the police. They've had a child together through there. They've created a family all through potentially his actions and what he's achieved. And they're the hidden stories of, like, from my job, the little stories of what I've got. My brother and his partner met in the hospital when I was in my accident. They were friends, they got together, and now they've also had a child. So now we've got a baby Teddy. And that has happened because of the accident. So yes, there are tough times, but we've also now got a cousin who's now gone on to retrain in the police. I've got a nephew from the accident. And again, meeting meeting yourself, meeting like-minded people that you want to try and go on this journey with now. So
it's the ripple effect, dude.
Without a doubt. I think another random one was, or a couple of random stories. I remember ran the Cambridge Half Marathon 2 years ago now because of lockdown, standing on the start line and all of a sudden I get a tap on the shoulder, and it was actually the surgeon who saved my life.
Wow.
And Dr. Hull. And so he's tapped on my shoulder. He went, "Good to see you standing." I was like, yeah. And I'm like, look back, that's Dr. Hull. It's Dr. Hull. The gun's gone off. Everyone's gone. He's gone. I'm standing still. Like, I haven't seen this guy for 3 years. And he saved my life. And he's just gone.
Yeah.
And I got to
He wants a good time.
Yeah. So he's just gone. He's left me at the start line. And now I'm thinking, is that actually Dr. Hull? So amazing memories and some amazing people that are hidden superstars in my eyes that are walking the streets among us. So a man called Jamie Gillespie, who looks after me at the clinic called Pace, he was ex-military. Mm-hmm. He had his accident, but he actually turned out, I think he was on leave, and it was a motorbike accident.
Okay.
Like they all are, predominantly.
Yeah.
So he's done his tours of wherever, and he survived that. He comes home, he gets on his motorbike, and he has a crash, and he loses one leg. Goes through his rehab stages, has a bad service, let's say, in how he was dealt with. So he wanted to then change his life, and he retrained to be a prosthetist, make a difference. So now, because he didn't want people to go through what he went through. Mm-hmm. So with that, so now he's now changing my life and changing other lives and what they're going on to by making people's experiences. And his joy is obviously when he sees what people going on to achieve and all my silly achievements of doing. But I'm just a small fish in that pond. And he's got one client who retrained for the fire service with one leg and has filtered down from 900 applicants to now 20. He's come back and now, he's changed his life by both of them. So one chap obviously making legs to make people do stuff and achieve their goals and achieve their dreams. And then one chap who's gone from 900 to now 20 people to be eligible for the fire service.
I suppose these things are they're so focused, isn't it? So whatever you're doing, whatever you're into, or whatever brings you to that becomes such a focus. And largely it comes from such a negative energy that happened in the first place. But there's so much energy in there. And then it's about pivoting that, isn't it? And then reaping the benefits of twisting it into something positive. And that's what's happened.
Yeah. And again, like, obviously the physio's, her name's Kat Sizer, and her job is to make people walk again. More powerful, like having that on your business card.
Your amputations from above the knee down.
Yeah.
So the chunk of leg on your thigh that you have got, hamstrings, quads.
Yeah.
You've got no knee. So how do they roll that around?
I'm a double through knee amputee. So I've still got my knee joint.
Okay, thank God for that.
So what the idea behind it was, obviously, again, from finding out afterwards, is that your knee is a solid joint of actually it's designed for weight bearing. Yeah. So for me, it was a good idea to try and keep them knees and as best as possible. So I'm able to weight load through the knees.
Otherwise, you may as well go up to the hip, I take it.
No, because again, that then becomes, when it comes to walking on prosthetics and your sockets, you've got no socket to latch onto. So you'd have no femur at that point to latch onto. So the longer the femur, the better, realistically.
So even if they had to go half the femur, they'd do that? So through trauma being through explosions, bombs, military guys, sadly they would go for there's no choice. It happens and it goes. So it could be that they are through an explosion be one below knee and one above knee. So they could be very offset. Like now, we're 5 years, aren't we? Everything's happened. Lucky to be alive. Great surgeons dealing with the injuries 5 years later, still to this day. What does it look like for you now with the sense of like recovery and furtherly moving forward?
Well, I'm effectively wearing these carbon fibre sockets. There's a liner that's on inside. But with that, you get rubs, you get sores, you get day-to-day pains, aches and pains, and be it lower back pain. But effectively you're doing your rehab exercises to strengthen those areas that are being used and that are going to take the weight load. So a lot of time is obviously in rehab and learning to stairs and ramps are still a bastard. Like I say, if the world was flat, I'd nailed it by now.
Flat earthers.
Yeah. For me, you still want to explore. As you mentioned, you want to go and see the parts of the world. You want to go, you go into Cambridge, there's cobbles everywhere. Imagine trying to walk around on a set of stilts with cobbles. It's a
Venice
pain.
is a write-off for you, isn't it?
But you shouldn't be, or it shouldn't be. You still want to go and experience it and go and be like, okay, I want to see it. I might not be there for 2 weeks, but I want to have that option to be able to do that. So can't shut yourself away from it, but you just have to deal with it. So it might be, like you said, when we first walked in, didn't really know what legs I was going to be walking in. They're your slippers, effectively. They're energy saving. So normally I think for every step that you do, I would do 3 in work rate. So it's a lot to be dealing with. But going forward, lots more experiences, a lot more journeys to be going on. I've been exposed to a hell of a lot recently, over the last 5 years of coaching with Ipswich. Loved that. Loved being back into football. Loved being around the kids. Loved using my journey of football myself. It was probably one big thing for me, thinking when I was in hospital, how am I going to play football with my son? How am I going to do that? So I threw myself into that academy to go and experience and see actually how, like I'm now in with 100 children. I've got to learn to do something. I've got to learn to be with her. I've got to learn to play football. So I've come out with a skill from that. And they were fantastic in allowing me to be part of that journey. Running, currently training at the moment to do the London Marathon on the 3rd of October. So I've got a half marathon this weekend coming up. So again, sport has been a big part of my life in rehabilitation. Climbing Mount Snowdon, loved it. Want to do the other 2 in the UK. So I've done that. I got exposed to some like reenactment work with the Swedish Fire Brigade.
That's so cool.
Which was amazing. A great experience there to get thrown onto a runway, pretend that I've been in a plane crash, and that the Fire Brigade and all the paramedics had to come out and come and respond and come and treat you.
That's to aid education in further people learning how to deal with the situation.
Yeah, basically.
So training. You're in a training video.
Yeah. So at the time they hired us 10 amputees, flown us out to Sweden. Got told, look, you're going to be part of this exercise, that we're going to bloody you up. You're going to lie there and pretend that you've had a fatal crash. But the paramedics, the fire brigade, the police service and anybody else associated with the airport at that point don't know to the extent of what's gone on. So they show that they're all sitting in a classroom. They're watching on a video screen. Turns out that a father is kicking off on a plane, that the wife is no longer coming back home and that she's now locked herself into the toilet. He's caused an uproar, set light to the plane. The plane's gone down, and now all of a sudden on the runway they've just lit this plane up. The fire that's coming out, the heat that was coming off it. So they've gone, now, go. So we're all bloodied up, no prosthetics on, got thrown onto this runway. And all of a sudden, these paramedics have all come now rushing out of their classroom, which is on another location. They've come screaming onto the runway and coming to treat us. But they didn't actually realise to the extent of we actually are amputees. We're now in this, not
this is
just
proper real.
So the effects and the cinema effects of what they've done and how they bloodied us up was fantastic. They've come on. These guys have basically gone, what is that? Like, is this actually real? Has the plane actually gone down? Or what, seeing us? And they obviously had to then react. They had to get to a point. They saw me, obviously, as double amputee and just went, well, he's not surviving. So I bled out. They went off and went and saved. They went and saved other people
Poor
that were
old
there.
Shawnee.
Yeah. So, but to the point of the other people who I was with, we got told, basically, play up as much as you can, not just be joking, but you have to obviously pretend to be in distress. So if you want to grab their medical bag, grab their medical bag. It's real life.
Yeah.
So if I just lied there and just went, I'm dying, can you come and help me? They're not getting anything out of it. So they had to learn, they had to put tourniquets on you. So even though I was dying, or fake dying, I let them train, and you had to put it up as hard, like the tourniquets on as properly.
So as an actor, did you practice this beforehand?
No, I completely.
I
just thrown into. Didn't really know what. They just went, "Oh, you'll be great. You'll love it. Come meet us at the airport and and turn up." So got there and then get told while we're having dinner or having lunch the next day. They were like, we're going to be practicing to put the tourniquet on for you. And if anyone's had a tourniquet on them, it's a horrible experience. It's a belt that's being tightened as hard as they can to stop the blood flow. And so I was also thinking, no one's going to have flashbacks, are they, of like their injuries or people like, and they went, no, we had one guy, I think he was like Mental Mike, who went a bit weird obviously with it, but that was their name for him. And again, but I did start to think like, am I going to be all right with this? But I knew then that I'm helping them, and we're helping the fire brigade, the people that are going to be on response, to help save lives. But yeah, it was a great experience to be part of and a memory that I've got. And I think going forward, I'd like to do it again. And there's lots of it. Again, at the clinic that I go to, I think Jamie, who I mentioned before, he cast in for the Gladiator film, and he was there lying in a field in Scotland and just said it was great at the time, but then when you realise that they've got to go through 8 different lenses and you're lying in Scotland in the freezing cold and they go, yeah, you can just lie there. He was freezing. But a friend of mine, Scott, he is in the Star Wars movies. And he was very much, he's sitting in, he's made a living out of going around to all these different Comic-Cons.
Yeah, because it's all of that. They love the random ones. Yeah,
I think now he's been called up for another Game of Thrones, and he's going to be doing a fight scene there. And at the clinic, they're making a prosthetic of when in the fight scene, I think somebody slashes his leg and he falls to the ground.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, so he falls to the ground, and from that, but they had to make that, and it's been thrown into that side of it. I got asked to be in the Mummy film, so to be a victim of that, and just as you mentioned, I could lie there and just play out, and you can. But I would never have had these experiences if I didn't have the accident.
It's made possible by people thinking, right, let's find purpose. And
it's just making it more accessible and making things more available within the knowledge, and finding something that we can all do and get on with. And then again, you meet people from other journeys, being that mine's a traumatic injury. But there's a massive military community that's out there that have all gone through what they've gone through, and that you shouldn't just be left on the outside being a young, fit person.
No way.
You want to be part of it. You want to go like, look, all right, how are you dealing with it? You're like 8 years in. I'm only 4 or 5 years in. How have you found that? What's your tips? What's your tricks? Can you help me? So you sort of want to breach into it. You don't want it just being, the military guys, they deserve everything that they get, and the walking with the wounded. They got the Invictus Games, etc. But again, like for me, I just have to be out I have to run against you on a 10K race. Yeah. So
on that note, like, have you got a rhythm with like food and supplementation stuff for you?
Yes and no. Like, obviously it's changed now that you're learning all about your body, and you have to be careful with how much your calorie intake, obviously within sockets as well. So being that the prosthetics of, like, obviously if your legs shrink or they get bigger.
So you're trying to hold.
Yeah, you try and maintain a stable weight, really. And obviously that's what I was told from the very beginning. To be an amputee and be a successful amputee, you need to be physically fit and be active, and need to have that high level of energy that you said. Obviously you can't just be full beans the whole time. You need to have your downtime, you need to have your recovery. But yeah, maintaining diet is a key to it.
So I suppose this leads round, I always love to mention the word pre-recovery.
Yeah.
So be prepared for whatever happens in life by being fit, both physically and mentally.
Yes. For me, obviously I'm very lucky that I'm a private prosthetic clinic, so I'm able to have the access to great facilities, and I know that without these facilities or equipment, I wouldn't be walking as successfully as I am today.
Yeah, man.
And that was obviously again all through insurance, and through luckily obviously having insurance at the time of the accident, hence why we all take it out. But being approached in Tesco's twice, and being approached and tap on the shoulder by people that sadly have been overweight and gone, oh, they've advised me that I'm going to need that done. Is it going to hurt? You think, like, there's 2 random questions there, really, that I can't advise you on what. Of course it's going to hurt. Like, I didn't want this to happen to me, but the reason why you're having it potentially is because of diabetes
that you brought on yourself.
Sadly, largely, most of the time. There could be a bone disease. There could be, sadly, with cancer. There could be, or there could be a treatment that's gone wrong, being that sadly there's been a leg break
or rare disease.
A rare disease, blood disease.
Basically, there's a whole host of things. But I'd probably say the biggest percentage are accidents and self-induced states of loss, maybe through not pre-covering, not looking after yourself.
Very much so. So there's I think it's called Clinic 9 that's at Cambridge where I was, and it's a room sadly with a lot of elderly people. I probably brought the age demographic down by a hell of a lot being at that in there, but they're all fantastic people. They all want to try and make themselves, but they've now got that realisation of, I am an amputee now. I've got to get up and I want to get working and I want to get moving, but also time is running away from them. So you do have to be careful, and it's hard. And it's probably, again, I mentioned before, fear is a big thing for it. I don't know what's going to happen in 20 years' time. Am I going to be able to walk on my big legs? So should I go and achieve all my goals now and sort of live a life upside down, or flipping it, being that the modern day person should retire at 65 or whichever, and then go and do their travelling, and then they've got their grandkids to look after. Where actually, for me, if this is the fittest I'm going to be, I want to experience these events and go and do a bit of travelling and go and see the world now, and not worry about what people think on the outside. If my family and friends are happy and supportive with it, and I'm trying to make a difference and trying to raise money and trying to raise for various different charities and awareness, and doing experiences like this and throwing myself out my comfort zone, then it's something I want to do.
Hey there, it's Howie. Just interrupting really briefly, I've got a quick favour to ask. We don't run ads on the Pod Barber, but if you're finding this podcast helpful, or if you know someone who might benefit from listening to it, please take just 10 seconds to share this episode by tapping on those 3 little dots on your podcast player. From there, you can text or email a link to the show and spread the word of what we're trying to do here. That'd be great. Mick and I really appreciate your help. Okay, back to the show.
Man, you're so comfortable in it. You got in there and you've sat there, and I feel like you're a natural in this sort of environment.
It's something I'd really like to do. I'd like to do this sort of stuff and create awareness. And I love sport. I see now, obviously, there's a lot of inclusion within the media side with different disabilities that have been put into presenting.
Yeah, we need it.
Yeah, and I think, mate, if that ever, I don't know the avenues of how to get into expose that side of it, but it's something that I would.
You'd be brilliant.
Yeah, I'd like to.
You'd be brilliant.
Yeah, I think I'd like to give it a go. But again, yeah, you want to experience life and get out there and tell your journey and tell your stories, but find out, as you mentioned, about other journeys. I've been the people that I've met within the training or within the GB community, the stories that they've got and how they've ended up there. It's fascinating.
Yeah,
and
man.
Real life stuff, and
Yeah.
how they cope every day and what a difference that they're making, and again how proud their families, or not just my family, but how proud their families are of them. And you're going on journeys with your friends, and you want to take, so like, obviously my friends haven't held back, and they've just been like, look, come, we're going here, we're going to Dublin this weekend, you come in, do you want to be a part of it? And if they're your friend, they'll look after you. So you guys, you mentioned earlier, cobbles or everything. You're walking up and down the high street, but you're out there, you're having a beer with your friends, and you're talking about, oh, look, what's going on here, what's going on there. And they're on that journey with you. And then that becomes a ripple effect of they can show, and now they're going on their own holidays and going, oh, there's a ramp there, or there's something there, I'll come back and I can tell Shaun he could go there. And it's
awareness.
and it's not just, oh, you're segregated, oh, you have to go to this hotel because it's a disability hotel. So you want to, you're a normal person. As I mentioned, I did Snowdon with 2 good friends, and we both climbed up there. We both had our journeys, and we got up the top. And sadly, the year before, he'd lost his dad, and he basically took up, like a slate tile, but for like a coaster. But he'd actually had one made of his dad. Like a grey picture of his
Engraved.
dad on there.
Yeah, nice.
And he actually was able, when he got to the top previously, the year before, he'd posted it in the rock face. So nobody really, you couldn't tell because it all blended in with all the slate. So we got up to the top there, he took himself, found the slate, and he just went and had a chat with his dad and just told him about how, like, what he'd been doing for the year. I'd seen that, just watching him having a chat, and he just went, yeah, we ready to go down now? And I was like, oh God, I've just got up here. But to see that, how he had his moment, he had his cry, and let him know that he was all okay, and see you next year. But for that, I had to reverse for 4 hours down Snowdon, going down backwards. Basically, I had to just walk backwards and all on hands and knees.
Is it walking sticks not
working
up for you?
Yeah. So ascending was all with 2 walking poles, and I was able to climb, and again, but a bit of gorilla grip, just hands and knees, bang, 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 just clamber up there, and you got up there and got your photo. But on the way back down, again, my friend was like, do you want to get on the train, just in case, like, because I don't know how, because it's literally as you're walking just downhill constantly for 4 hours.
Yeah, man,
so
it's bad enough for anyone,
Yeah.
like normal, let alone,
Yeah.
it's the pounding. I think going down can be worse, can't it?
Yeah, so basically just went, no, we're going to get down, probably the stubborn side of me. But we just literally are reversed the whole way down. And then at times, obviously, was able just to turn around, use the poles again, or just, as a friend would do, he lent his arm and lent his shoulder, and you just bounced off each other, and we got down and had a Guinness afterwards.
Nice, man.
Yeah.
Taking it back to your permanent in recovery, almost like an alcoholic. You're
Yeah.
always going to be Shaun, who lost his legs.
Yeah.
How does that relate to how your mood goes? Did you ever have therapy or counselling? Have you ever needed or felt that you've needed that for that trauma?
Yes, yeah. I've made it no secret that I've attended clinics and I've attended help and been very grateful for that. It's that thing of people go, why me? Why me? I don't know why it happened to me. I don't really know but obviously it has happened, so I can now only make as best as I can. Being able to talk to your partner and being open about how you're feeling, that's your key. That's where they should be able to know your struggles and not be fearful. Imagine being open and being about it. Become a double amputee and you meet your partner and life happens. You go into the bedroom and you get ripping your clothes off and you're in that sexual animation and whichever, but I've got to take my prosthetics off. I've got to take my liner off. I've got to do that. Oh, does that kill the mood? It's like,
I don't know, does it?
Well, obviously, it's something that I obviously had in my head. And you think if you could be told, if someone to tell you and say, oh, that's not very attractive, that's not very nice, that's not very... It's just going to batter your feelings and it's just going to batter you as a person. But if that loved one is with you and they love you and they see what you're doing every day, and like for me, you're trying your best for your family. It's not like you're being lazy or you're going, oh, can you get that because I haven't got my leg on? That's a big thing for me. No, I'm not using that as an excuse. Oh, I haven't got my legs on. But yeah, mentally, talking to somebody and getting help, I've got no problems in admitting that, yeah, you do. I did and still will. Obviously, I'm in a very good place at the moment. But obviously, if something changes, let's talk about it. And it was good, like learning different techniques on how they make you open up. It was talking to this lady. She'd just got a pack of postcards out, all with different pictures on. And I don't obviously know whether she meant anything by them, but you basically just scatter them around, identify, okay, which ones of appeal to you, what do you think? So it could be like a front door of a house. It then could be a holiday or beach, or it could be a dog or something. But then why did that picture relate to you? And then all of a sudden you start talking. You go, oh, it's actually I've thought about moving, don't know the costs, don't know if it's right, don't know if it's that. That may be your stress and you've got it off your chest. But it was an easy way of being able to go, all right, give me 5 cards and I'll talk about it and then, I'll see you next week.
Being provoked.
Yeah. With that as a gentle approach.
You're going around it. It's in there.
Yeah.
It's in the deck of cards.
Yeah.
Let's just find out what it is.
Yeah.
Conversation's the cure, isn't it? Nothing starts without it, does it?
No, without a doubt. And as you mentioned there, like a ripple effect, a friend of mine, Martin, he went to his first CrossFit session, like what you do.
I love CrossFit.
So he turned up and it was only 3 weeks ago. And the lady taking the session just went, okay, so you're going to do your first set of something and I want you to run to that whiteboard over there and I want you to write your biggest fear on the board. So he's never been to this session before, but everybody had to write their fear on the board. So he's done his 10 press-ups, I say, run to the board, wrote his biggest fear on the board and come away and end up talking to somebody else afterwards just about that. Within that group of 10 people, they were, as he said, they were talking and just writing like, but we met him in the evening at the pub and out of nowhere he'd just come out with, what's your biggest fear? And it was a conversation. And so obviously that has happened to him. I've then gone home and gone, Holly will go, oh, so how's Sarah? How's Vicky? How things like, well, we didn't really talk about that. And he's like, well, what do you talk about? And he's like, well, actually randomly, Martin just asked like, what's your biggest fear? So like, you're lying there and then, well, what's your biggest fear, Holly? And it's just, but now it's gone from one person to a group of 10 to a group of 3, but that
pay it
now
forward.
made us,
Holly would have then gone on and said it to her family members or
maybe,
whoever, WhatsApp group, you know, whatever.
Yeah, but it was just something like now, obviously you could go away or whoever's
I'm
listening, go and talk away, like, all right, do your 10 things, have a think about it, and then just maybe it's something that's on the spot rather than you thinking about it and going, oh, I've got to think of a fear for next week's session. So where you're overthinking it. I don't know really, but...
So when anyone listens to this podcast, here's a little takeaway. Some people listen to this together as a family, as a unit, because it helps them to talk.
Yeah.
That's the feedback that I get. We get lots of really positive feedback coming through the social media stuff, and they're saying how rewarding it is. So here's something that Shaun White's bought from his friend that's come from CrossFit, from the box, would have come from somewhere else. It's been paid down the line. What's your biggest fear? Ask someone near to you, what's your biggest fear, and pay that forward. Let them talk and listen.
Yes, very much so.
Space to say it. You seem so positive. You've set yourself some goals. We've talked about physical stuff. Everyone asks you the question, oh, right, yeah, so GB rowing team, what are you doing?
Yeah.
We've got as your episode comes out, timely event as it will be, we're going to have the Paralympics.
Yes.
I know you're not going to be competing in this year's one.
No.
But, you know, you've got some sort of vibrations underneath about potential stuff. What are your thoughts on that? What are you doing, man?
Well, at the moment, I've been asked to try and compete in the Winter Olympics, being that it's the sit ski, being for Nordic skiing.
Yeah.
So I've got a long set of arms and I've got a set of lungs. So apparently that works quite well. But at the moment, it's going on that 4-year, 5-year now plan, and it's something that I'd like to explore with the backing of family and knowing that it comes at a cost of being away. As we know, we don't have snow here, so you can't. Again, as mentioned before, you have to be selfish with it
To be a top athlete,
or to be
a top anything, elite anything requires sacrifice.
Yeah, and it's hard, and I think it only just came out this week, obviously, as we're recording this. The lady in the Taekwondo, in judo, she got beat in the first round, but very much said that I'm missing my family, I've failed because I wasn't here, and the involvement what her family paid in her life. So it is a big thing, but for her, and should she see that as a failure, being that she didn't qualify, but she's made it to an Olympics, and not many people can say that. So from my side of it, I think it's absolutely fantastic that you've got there. But yeah, the sporty side, I'd love to get into some form of Paralympics. In which way? Obviously, I gave it a go with the rowing. Again, I loved it. Absolutely. Boy, that's never been on a boat before, to get into going on to being out on training camps with GB and being out and being able to represent that side of it. Absolutely fantastic, and memories that I'll always have. Still got friends who, fingers crossed, they'll go on and win golds and medals and bring them back for us. And again, great relationships from what I've learned from them, but just they're still human beings. As much as they are athletes, they've still got to live a normal life, and they'll come back and they'll be walking amongst us, and you won't know that they've got a medal, being maybe that the media needs to create that awareness and show them off more.
Demand.
Yeah.
We, as a public, need to demand inclusivity and celebrate the differences.
Without a doubt, because actually if you see their times and see what people are running, jumping, swimming, pulling, pushing, it's amazing what people can do. And as obviously within their disability, like I say, jumping on a rower and doing a 2K, I know a lot of people that will be putting times down that are a lot less off being able-bodied.
Obviously, you know, you've got that disability, but you're an elite athlete at your level. You've been pushing yourself and you got into that frame. What's the best times that are coming from the Paralympians that are going to be facing now? Because obviously each disability, I mean, that's the confusing thing from a spectator's point of view. It's like, well, how do you...
So put it this way. So like
judge timings. And
massive.
It's so difficult, isn't it?
Yeah. So we are slightly different, being me and Richard Whitehead, but we are very similar. They're both running running blades, fairly similar injuries. But he ran the London Marathon on the set of running blades in 2 hours, 40 odd minutes.
Wow. That is incredible.
How somebody can go and do that. There's a lad from Ireland who runs in the visually impaired on the 100 metres. He's not far off Usain Bolt's time. Bear in mind that he's running in a visually impaired.
Does he have to run with the partner?
No, so he's able just to
focus on the line
and go for it. So, but again, you look at the times there. It's an amazing to see what the human body can do and what the human body can achieve. Oh, without a doubt, yeah. But it shouldn't be identified just every 4 years.
No.
It's just brought to light. So at the moment, you'll see on all the media and you'll see, look at the little adverts on TV, there's a lot more disability going into the Olympic year. But the 3 years before that, where is it?
Yeah, why are we not knowing
Why are
about
we not
it?
doing
What's
it?
the legacy?
That's it. Yeah, 2012 was the big legacy and the big hope. Has it carried on? I don't know, really. But
Well,
we
clearly
will all,
not, because
we
we're
will
only
all,
just starting to get sort of drip-fed it now, and it's in September. But we've all been sat there huddling around our digital time stealers, and I feel like they've missed opportunity.
Okay, so the last leg, the programme.
Yeah, great program.
Great
really
programme.
Funny, really good laugh.
All thrown together with two lads with disabilities, with missing limbs, and obviously Josh Widdicombe being there as a comedian. Alex Brooker got thrown into that, and as he mentioned obviously on his BBC programme on how he's dealt with disability throughout his life, it was sort of a bit of a laughing stock because he got asked to do the hop along and do the high jump in the studio just so they can see what he could do. He's more famous than any of the athletes that are there. But he got, as he mentioned, he got thrown into it. It was designed that we were meant to be a funny sketch that he was doing the high jump. It shouldn't just be because I've got this sketch that we're going to try and do. It should be that they planned and be like, okay, let's try and make it. How can we get the inclusion rate up? What can we do about it? And let's do something together.
Work together.
Work together.
Think about it. Awareness.
But you've got these people that are going on their journey and whichever way. But you get a load of glamorous people and you call it Love Island. What if you put me in Love Island?
You'd clean
as a
up,
double,
mate.
no, as
Honestly,
a double amputee,
you're great.
and you see a different life, and you see how would then people react, rather than it just being, I'm going to go over there and I'm going to do these weights, I'm going to sit by the pool, I'm going to things. Actually, in the morning, I've got to get up, I've got to put my liner on, I've got to put my legs on.
We'd really learn something.
Yeah, if you get two people in this Love Island villa, one's in with a disability, somebody might gravitate towards them, and that's a relationship that would never have happened before, and it's all come together.
Because
and
they've got to know
because
each
they've
other.
actually, let's say player A has got this human nurturing ability of going, actually, I can work with that, I can do that, I can look after them, I find how they're dealing with that really attractive, and you've got to know them as a human being rather than that's the good looking couple, and that's what we've got to work with.
Look inside.
Yeah, we're all human beings and we all have feelings and we all want to be loved, and whoever can go on that journey with you then experience it and look at the bigger picture. Be as you mentioned with the Olympics and stuff, if you know that the sacrifice of 4 years is going to come at a penalty for you and your family, then what's more to you? So if you think, okay, it is the Olympics, go on that journey and be selfish and do that stuff, but if you think that you love your partner and you want to be with them and but you can watch the Olympics together and talk about it, that might be your journey to go on as well.
Yeah, that might be enough for you. But it might be that person loves the fact that you're going to put yourself to that level.
Yeah.
And if you don't display at that's part of the plumage that they're expecting in you.
Yeah.
But the thing is, because there's the right person for everyone, isn't there?
Exactly.
And you've got to find the right person or persons or group or team. You don't have to be with someone. You don't have to have a family. You don't have to do...
No.
There's no one skin that fits them all.
No.
But you do want to get the value of having some purpose and finding what makes you happy, what keeps you having momentum, and what positively affects somebody other than yourself. You got me into the film
Rising Phoenix.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, that taught us a lot, didn't it?
Without a doubt, follows the athlete's journey, or 6 athletes' journeys from various disabilities and how they achieve their goals and going on to the Olympics and the political side of it and where the Paralympics all came from, where it started, being Stoke Mandeville, a German doctor there all after the war, and how he wanted to push it on and push it forward.
So the Paralympics means it's parallel to the Olympics. That was something that stuck with me. I thought that was brilliant.
Exactly that. And you wouldn't want it to be called the Disabled Games.
No. So in the sense of learning the right language, I can't just walk up to someone who's missing a leg or whatever and call them a Paralympian, because they might not be a Paralympian.
No.
So you're not defined by anything, but if someone struggles they don't know your name, obviously ask your name. But how do you prefer to be spoken of or spoken about?
Well, for me, obviously, I get stereotypical. It's I'm ex-military. I've not seen a battlefield in my life.
Judgment.
But exactly that. And so at times, obviously, if you want a quick conversation, you could be, because like everyone has their bad days, you can say, yeah. And they go, oh, God, well, thank you. But I'm not going to be like that. That's not me. My story is my story, and that's who I am. And I was hit by a driver. So my journey and my awareness of what's gone on is where I have to go. But yeah, it comes with the territory, and I think it's what it is, and I live with it.
I want to hit you with my curveball. Sex, drugs and rock and roll. Yeah. So you can pick any topic or however many you want and roll with it as you see fit and ready. Because everyone's story is different. Everyone's happy to talk about what they're happy. I'll talk about drugs. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Do it. I have to do drugs for this sense. Or rock and roll because you like music, events, whatever. Anything.
Yeah, rock and roll. Obviously, it's a lot of life and what's going on and what's out there. And hopefully it'll all be coming back now that everything's all starting to open up. So yeah, getting out and seeing friends again, socialising, and where I can, and yeah, within a stable environment.
I'm not going to suggest that, like, obviously, and judge whether you can go to a 5-day festival or not, but I dare say that you'd probably be more of a day event.
Without a doubt, yeah, without a doubt.
We talked about the toilets already.
Exactly that. No. So you dip in, dip out. Again, like obviously, as you mentioned, stag do's and stuff like that. You still want to be part of it. You still want to do things. You don't want to hold people back. It all becomes what's adapted within facilities. Like we go on these stag do's and go on these holidays. Hotels and stuff aren't adapted right. They're not what you. So how many times have I showered on the floor and just when you think is it degrading? But you're there with your friends. You go, look, I'm in the shower for 10 seconds. Quickly wash, bang, let's get out of here and let's get back out and we can go out and be friends and go and do your boyish things. That comes at a cost, but you're with your mates and you're doing the stuff that you want to do. So be it at a festival, you'd just get through them 4 days, you'd be surviving and whatever. And
most people are by 4 days.
Exactly that, yeah. So let's just get through it. And but yeah, my big thing, regardless of your disability, get out there and explore, and whoever you are, just go and do the things that you want to do. Don't be fearful of it. If you're scared of flying, there's airport assistance, there's stuff there that if you make yourself known, you can get help and you can get through and you can go and explore the world and come back and tell your own journey.
Yeah, have a positive story.
Exactly that.
Shaun, people are going to be interested, going to want to follow you. Not necessarily, everywhere you're walking around like a huddled group of support. How do they keep up to date with you, knowing what you're doing? Have you got social media or any other links that you think are important? Yeah,
I'm quite boring on that side of it, but I have social media. I'm on Facebook, just as my name, Shaun Whiter, and then again for Instagram, Shaun Whiter. As we've spoken about him a lot, Kian. He's on there with me as the amputee dad, basically, just going through their journey and learning all the time with him. So you see all little funny bits and funny clips of him and what we get up to.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they'll be able to then see as and when you develop into coaching or go through some of the other elements of training, perhaps if you take the decision of Olympic training and stuff. Yeah. So there's a continued pulse of positivity from you, even though it might be every now and then.
Yeah, very much so.
You champion the chat. You've laid it down. Fully appreciate you coming on, raising awareness about the damages of driving, but also raising awareness of how adaptable and how you can tilt positivity even in awful situations. But I would imagine that you're just so grateful to be alive.
That is it. Yeah, I've been given another chance and now just grab any opportunity that I can and go with it and explore and just see what's out there.
We just need to be grateful in life, don't we?
Yeah.
And we need to make sure that we measure everyone on an inclusive standard. Don't let someone standing in front of you by a visual thing be defined.
No.
Give them some time.
Yeah.
It's absolutely great that you come on and we're grateful for you coming on here. We're excited about what you're going to do.
And again, for any of the listeners, if anybody wants to have a chat or needs help in any way, I'm more than happy to talk to someone. It's not here to preach about stuff and give my opinions. Everybody's got their own journey. So if anybody wants a chat, then feel free, get in touch.
Reach out. You've been a great chat today, my man.
Thank you very much.
Peace, love, power to your day, man.
Yeah, you too.
Thank you, Shawnee.
No, thank you.
The Pod Barber is a That Media and Design production, with Mickey at the mic and Howie at the controls. If you've been affected by any of the topics in this show, you can find more helpful information on the episode's page at thepodbarber.com and search The Pod Barber on social and let's get connected.